Kakadosh Boker Or, Masechet Ketubot Daf Amud Aleph 84A1. We're just going to start though on 83B, towards the bottom, a few lines up, where it says about Rashbag. Rashbag Omer, we were talking about in the Mishnah that even if the husband went and he wrote Bechayech Uvmotech, that means basically if she dies, he's going to come and take the inheritance, right? Because he's making a condition on that which is written in the Torah. So we said that anytime that you make a condition which is written in the Torah, it's now batel, it's going to be annulled. So Amar Rav comes and says, the halacha is like Rashbag velo mitame, but not because of the reasoning. Meaning we pass like Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, but not because of the reasoning of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. What does it mean here? The halacha is like Rabbi Shimon Gamliel velo mitame. If you're going to tell me the halacha Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, the Amar that he says in meta, if the woman dies first, yirashena, so he's going to inherit her, but it's not because of reasoning. But according to Rashbag, he says that if he's making a condition on that which was written in the Torah, the Tanai is going to be batel. But Rav that argues on Rashbag, Savar, he says Tanao Kayam, that the Tanai is Kayam. That means he could actually come and make a Tanai that he's not going to inherit her. Because Savar and he holds Yerushat Abal is the Rabbanan, meaning Yerushat Abal is a Takanah the Rabbanan. It's not the Raita. If you hold it's Toraita, so you're being matrei Masechet Ketubot Torah. You're making a condition that which was written in the Torah. If you hold Rabbanan, what's the problem? But the rabbis made a chizuk in their words even more than which is the Torah. Which means even though the Tanai could be mafkia, could take out a din Torah and something which is money, nevertheless the Chachamim, they put the power in their words and they made a decree that a Tanai cannot take away a takana. The husband is going to come and be yoresh et ishto. So it comes out that Rav is going to be posek, right? Like Rashbag, that the Tanai is going to be batel, but for another reason, right? That's what he's coming to say. It's for another reason whatsoever. Rav, so does Rav really hold Tanao Kayam? That on the Davar Shebemamon, something with money, you could come and make a condition and actually uproot something? Masechet Ketubot Torah. By each one it was said, imagine a person comes and he says, right? I'm going to sell you this item. And you know what the condition is? No ona. You know what that means? I could come and charge you double, triple, whatever it is. And there's no ona. You cannot even come back to me. There's no ona. Rav says, yesh lo ona. He could come back to him and say, I apologize. You charge me ona, and therefore what? Take it back. Shmuel says, en lo alav ona. There's no ona. So you see from here that Rav holds that even if it's davar shebimamon, something of money, and you made a condition, it doesn't help. Why? You overcharged. And if you overcharged, kamarnu, right? So therefore that's it. There's nothing what to do. So he comes and he says, right, as follows. He comes and he says, Ela barather, halacha kerashbag. The halacha is going to be like, right, Rashbag. That he says if you're going to be matrei on that which was written in the Torah, the Tanai is annulled. It's batel. It's not because of reasoning of Rashbag, so because he holds meta yirashena, that if she dies, he does get the inheritance, even though he made the condition that he doesn't want to inherit her. Rav Savar and Rav argues, he holds meta lo yirashena, right? That if she dies, he does not inherit her, right? Now why? Hai mitame v'lo ki ilchatei. So it says, 1 second, this is mitame, but not the lachazakim. What's going on then, right? If right now, according to this view, Rav is accepting that Rashbag says that Tanai keneged din Torah is going to be batel, but he argues on the psak, and Rav is saying the exact opposite, that the lachazak Rashbag in the Mishnah, but not because of his reasoning, right? Meaning like this: if you say the lachazak Rashbag, it means the lachazak him, not because of reasoning. He held reason A, I'm holding reason B. But if you're now telling me like this, now we're saying, no, the halacha is not like Rashbag. So what are you talking about then, that the halacha is like Rashbag, but not because of reasoning? No, the halacha is not like Rashbag. So he says, no, you know what it means. The halacha is like Rashbag, that if she dies, he doesn't inherit her, right? Even though he made the condition no. But not because of his reasoning. Rashbag holds that the reason why is because in a doraita, the Tanai is batel. In a drabanan, the Tanai is kayam. Rav Savar and Rav comes and he holds Afilu b'drabanan tano batel. Even in the drabanan, the t'nai is also going to be batel because the chachamim asu chizuk l'divrehem k'meshel Torah. So this is, so says the Gemara, 1 second. So then this is keta'ameh u'kilchatehu. So then this comes out that it's actually matim to Rashbag, like his reasoning, and like the halacha like him. That means at the end of the day, the halacha is like him, right? That if she dies, he inherits her, and it's also because of his reasoning. V'Rav mosifu, and Rav is just actually adding on, right? He's just adding on that even in a drabanan it's going to be like that. But that means we're going like Rashbag completely. Remember, one more time, we're going back. We started off the Gemara by saying halacha like Rashbag v'lo mita'ameh. Not because of his reasoning. Now we wanted to find out why do we say that? Why? Is the halacha like Rashbag? What's the reasoning of Rashbag? What's the reasoning of other people? All of a sudden now we're saying that means everything's like Rashbag. So the Gemara retracts, he says no. El halacha like Rashbag, taman meta yidashena, vela mitame, but not because of reasoning, because according to Rashbag, Yerushat Abal is doraita. According to Rashbag, a husband inherits his wife, mina Torah. Right? And that's a shita of Rashbag. So now it makes sense. Why? Right? If she dies, he inherits, even though he made the t'nai, not. If you're going to make a t'nai against the Torah, it's going to be batel. But Rav holds, Yerushat Abal is drabanan. It's not doraita, it's drabanan. But the rabbis made a chizuk to their words, just like the Torah. And therefore, again, talachas like Rashbag, right? But not because of his reason. Rashbag held the reason is because it's doraita. Rav is saying it's drabanan. However, though, since even in the Rabbanan they did a chizuk v'divrei, they strengthened the words like a doraita. So according to everybody, he's still his tanah is batel. His tanah is going to be batel, and he will still inherit his wife. So that now makes sense. Says the Gemara, the Rav savar Yerushat Abal Rabbanan. What did you just explain to me? Rav holds it's the Rabbanan in Yerushat Abal, and we still the chachamim asu chizuk v'divrei, and maybe that's the reasoning. But the halacha is still like Rashbag, it's the same shita, right? Just a different reasoning. He says, does Rav hold that it's the Rabbanan? But we learned in the Mishnah Bechorot Umbet Umbet. Rabbi Yochanan ben Blokah Rabbi Yochanan ben Blokah says, Hayoreshet ishto. If a person is going to inherit his wife, Yachzil livnei mishpacha yinakel lahen min adamim. He has to give back the karka, the property, to the family, right, of his wife, and then he's going to take off from the amount of money. We're going to explain what does that mean exactly. Okay, which means that he has to give back the properties. Obviously, in Yovel, all the properties come and they go back to the families, right? Because that was the entire purpose, that every single family should still get their properties back, so that way it stays in the same shvatim, right, in the same tribes, and so on and so forth. Now he says, "Va'avinam ba." So we ask the question, "Ma'ika savar, what exactly does Yochanan Blokah hold? Ika savar, if you're going to tell me now Yerushat Abal is doraita, if you're going to tell me it's doraita, why does he have to give back to the family? At the end of the day, right, it doesn't go back, right? Yerusha is 100% his, it's Toraita, and therefore it says his, right? Vid Rabbanan, now if you're going to tell me it's Rabbanan, right? So Damim, right, Maya Vitayu. Why does he have to get money back then? If it's Rabbanan, comes Yovel, you give it back to the family of the wife. There's no Damim, there's no money. So Rav comes and he says, Leolam Kasava, really, Rabbi Yochanan ben Blokah holds, Yerushat Abal mizoraita. For example, Shirushato Ishto Bet Akvarot. So, for example, what happened? The wife gave to the husband the Yerusha. You know what the Yerusha was? It was a Bet Akvarot of the family. Meaning whether it's that she was the only girl of that family, and all the people, they were all buried in that Bet Akvarot. It was like a little plot, and that was their Bet Akvarot of the family. So now there's Kama Mishpacha. Why? Because now she got married to somebody from the tribe of, I don't know what, Yehuda, Zevulun, whatever it is. And all of a sudden, it's a pagam for the mishpacha. Samu Rabbanan, the rabbis come and they say, Lishkol damel v'le'aden, right? That they should just pay and take back the property. So it says, Umayi nakelayim min admin. So what does it mean then? You have to remove money. Why do you have to remove money? You're selling, it's a proper sale. Really, be'emet, it should be 100% his, because Yerusha doraita. But if there's a pagam, there's a defect in the family. We don't want to have some defects in families that all of a sudden now their family plots, are going to be in somebody else's possession. So what does it mean then? To make kever ishto, his wife's kever, because he's obligated. So you see from here that the kever of his wife, that he is obligated to marry his own wife, That he has to deduce from the amount that he's selling it from. Okay? So says the Gemara, Rav letamed Rabbi Yochanan kamar ve'lei lo silul. No. Rav was only explaining the words of Rabbi Yochanan Memroka, right? But Rav himself, he doesn't hold of that. He actually holds that a Baal is Yuresh, not Doraita. Because we thought that when here Rav was explaining Rabbi Yochanan Memroka, he was going, this is Shita, that it's Doraita, and now you just told me there was the Rabbanan, but a Chachamim asu chizuk livrehem. So the Gemara answers, you're right. It is the Rabbanan according to him, and the Chachamim asu chizuk livrehem, but he was just explaining the words of Rabbi Yochanan Memroka, and that was the Shita of Rabbi Yochanan Memroka. Says the Mishnah, Pei Daled Amud Aleph, towards the bottom. Imagine right now, a person dies. He leaves behind a wife, right? A Bal Chov and Yorshim. So he has a wife, he's got children, right? Those are Yorshim, plus a Bal Chov, somebody that he owes money to. Now what happens is, right, everyone's trying to grab the properties. The woman is trying to grab for the Ketubah. Bal Chov is trying to give properties that which he's owed to. And the Yorshim, they want the Yerusha without paying the Chovot. Now he had a collateral or a loan by other people. Rabbi Tarfon says, he has to give the pikadon and the milveh, right? Biyad la koshel. La koshel is like the weakest, right, out of everybody, right? Which means over here it's going to be either the almanah or the balchov, right? That's what we're going to explain over here. Okay, now. Rabbi Akiva says, En menachamim badin. There's a very famous concept that there's no mercy in din. What does that mean? When we go in halacha, right, you come to a badin, there's no mercy. Oh, you know what? We feel bad. It's an almanah. We feel bad, right? It's a balch. No. Who gets it? Who gets it? What? You know, what's going on here? Yeah? Ela yidatru la yorshin, right? But rather you have to give it to Yorshin. Why? Shekulan, because the Isha and the Balchov tzechin shvuah. They have to make an oath. Ve'ena Yorshin tzechin shvuah. Now the Yorshin do not need a shvuah, which means that the Yorshin, they need a shvuah, right? Sorry, the Yorshin do not need a shvuah to take an inheritance. Take an inheritance, but you don't need a shvuah. But the other ones, they need a shvuah. So because of that, you give it to them. Okay, now we're obviously in the Gemara, we're going to try to explain a little bit more, right? But let's see. Okay, now he comes and he says, right? What happens if the mat, the deceased, he left behind fruits which are detached from the ground? Whoever grabs them, they are zocheh. So if, for example, it's the Yorshim that grabbed the first, they were zocheh, right? And then the Isha Balchov cannot take anything, right? But if it was the first, the woman or the Balchov, so they are going to be zocheh. What happens if the woman grabbed perot, but it was more than the value of her ketubah? Or the Balchov grabbed the perot, the fruits, but it was more than his chov, more than his debt. So then the mutar, so what happens to the leftovers? You give it now to the weaker one, and not to Yitomim. You don't give it to the orphans, to the Yorshim. Give it to the weaker one. So let's say it was a woman that grabbed it, so you give it now to the Balchov. Let's say it was the Balchov that grabbed it, you give it to the woman. I apologize. We do not have mercy, right, in judgment. Right, but rather they give it to the Yorshin. Shekulam tzechim shivua. Ve'ena Yorshin tzechim shivua. Everything is given to the Yorshin because everybody has to make a shivua except for the Yorshin. But the Yorshin do not make a shivua. Okay, nekuda. Let's see now the Gemara. So the Gemara says, Lama limit the milve, lama limit the pikadon. We said in the beginning part of the Mishnah that if he had a pikadon or milve biyad, why do we need to learn both of them? So it says the Gemara, he needed both. If he was only going to be taught the machloket to do the milve, over there, Rabbi Tarfon comes and he says, right, when the father came and he lent money, he thought that the money was going to be, right, used. What does that mean? When you lend somebody money, right, you know that person is going to use the money. What are you going to get? New money. You're not expecting that somebody's going to borrow money and use other money. When you borrow money, you're using that money. Then what are you paying back? New money, another money, right? It's a tachlif, right? It's something different. It's not the same amount. So therefore, this is like something which is new now. Okay? So he says, aval pikadon, but pikadon, dita be'enev, that it's still the same. Meaning collateral is the same way that you gave it. You gave a watch as a collateral, right? So now what happens? It stays the same way. Aval pikadon dita bene ema modile. Rabbi Akiva would say that he agrees to Rabbi Akiva, right? That what? That everything goes back to Yoshim. The itana, right? So that's why you have to bring me the case of the milve. And if it was only going to be talking about the pikadon, the hakam Rabbi Akiva in this case, Rabbi Akiva said it right. Why? Because it's the same thing. But in the case of a milve, ema modile Rabbi Tfon, maybe I would say that he agrees to Rabbi Tarfon. That really be'emet it goes to the lakoshel shabahem, and it doesn't go to them. Right? He comes and he says, he comes and he says, right? He comes and he says, right, as follows. He comes and he says, that's why we needed both cases. Maila koshel, what does it mean here to the weaker one? So Yosef Chanina, Omer Yosef Chanina says, la koshel sheberaya. What does that mean? Whichever one has less of a raya, the almanah balchov, right? Which means whoever one has a document which is later. Right, therefore, it becomes like the weaker one. Okay, that's what it means. Rabbi Yochanan comes and he says, "Ktubat Isha," right? Ktubav the Isha. Why? Because it's not the woman does not come and start looking and trying to collect different things. So therefore, the rabbis, because of chen, right, that she should find favor, right, in the eyes, right, of that's what it says here. And therefore, because then no woman would want to come and get married. Imagine, why would a woman want to get married if afterwards what's going to happen is she can never collect her ketubah? Because all of a sudden, the husband passes away, all of a sudden now there's Yoshim, there's this, that, and all of a sudden now go collect, right? It will be very difficult. So says the Gemara, Ketana, you're right, it's a machlok tanaim. Binyamin Omer, Binyamin says the kosher b'yav hu kasher, right? And that's what's proper to do. Bilazar Omer, ketubata isha mishum china. So whether it's going to be because it's a kasher, which means that's the proper thing what to do, or for the ketubata isha to find grace, because if not, no woman will get married to a man. So because of that, you have the two different opinions. Okay? Next, two dots. Right? We're talking about now that if you left fruits which are tlushin, right, which are detached. Rabbi Akiva, Ma'idya Mutar. Rabbi Akiva, what is he talking about now? Specifically the leftovers. Meaning we said that right now, whoever grabbed them, they're going together. Says what? All the perot are also shayach to the Yoshim. So answers you're right. Since Rabbi Tarfon was talking about the leftovers, he also taught the leftovers. He's also talking about the leftovers. Okay, Peidale Damubet, 84b. Rabbi Akiva, and according to Rabbi Akiva, Tfisa lo mehanya klal. He says what? Tfisa doesn't help, which means like this. Right? Sometimes you would think, listen, right? Something happens, right? And all of a sudden, like for example, somebody, they pass away, right? And then what do? Somebody comes and they grab something. Because you would think, listen, if I already grabbed it, at least it's mine. Right? Why? Tfisa, what does it mean? I grabbed it, so now it's mine. Now, you want to take it, fine, you take it away from me. You have to bring proof that you are on a higher level of a debt or whatever it is, or things like that you came before, or that, all these different things. But at least tfisa should help. So you're going to tell me that according to Rabbi Akiva, tfisa lo mahanya klal, tfisa doesn't even help? Meaning that at the end of the day, this man was chayav to all three of them, right? He was chayav to the balchov. He was chayav to the woman, her ketubah. And he's giving a Yerusha. He has a Yerusha. He's got something to give over as an inheritance. So he's good. So you're going to tell me tfisa doesn't help at all? So Amar Rabbi Nachman, he says, this is only talking about what the Balchov grabbed during the lifetime. Because if he grabbed as during the lifetime, so then he's taking it as a payment. And then even after the death of the man, he could still keep it. That's something else. But according to Rabbi Tarfon, where are these fruits at the death of the husband, of the death of the man? So Rav Shmuel will say, they're in public place. But if they're going to be in a sitma, that here he explains a sitma is that it's like in the simta, which is beside the Reshut Rabim, right? He comes and he says, in such a case, then Rabbi Tarfon does not speak about such a case. Okay? Why? Because in such a case, it's not considered Reshut Rabim, right? And therefore, it's like the property of the Yorshim, and therefore they're going to be Yoreshed. Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yochanan will say, even if it's going to be talking about a simta, right? It's going to be the same halacha, that again, whoever grabs it. Why? Because it's like a Reshut Rabim in this aspect. Okay? So he comes and he says, the Don Dainek Rabbi Tarfon. And the Dainim, they passed like Rabbi Tarfon, and they permitted the Balchov to be machzik by him. And the Shakish actually went and he took away, because he had said that even Rabbi Kiva, that he says it's Pisa, does not muil. So he went and he said to the Dainim, no, you have to give it back to Yerushim. Rabbi Yochanan said to the Shakish, Asita kishel Torah, right? You did the Rabbi Akiva's psak like it was Halacha Moshe Sinai. Even though I say the Halacha is like Rabbi Akiva, right? Still b'diavad, if they pass in like Rabbi Tarfon, you do not take it back. Meaning, if they already did the psak that way, you don't take it back. I also, because we said it was Rabbi Yochanan Veresh Shakish, both of them said that we do like Rabbi Akiva. You understand? But it's not like Mina Torah. It's not like Halacha Moshe Sinai. And therefore, b'diavad, if they pass in Rabbi Tarfon, it's like Rabbi Tarfon. So says the Gemara, Lema ba'kami pageh. Why don't we say that the machlok between them is the more savar ta'ab b'dvar mishnah chozer, the more savar b'dvar mishnah chozer. Why don't we say that the machlok between them is one time a person makes a mistake in a psak halacha, right? What happens? Do you retract or not retract? So therefore, Resh Lakish held that if a person was ta'ab b'dvar mishnah, meaning if a person made a mistake in a mishnah like in a halacha, you retract, and therefore he said you have to retract the halacha. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, he says you don't retract, and so the Gemara no. According to everybody, if you made a mistake in the Dvar Mishnah, you retract. So what is machloket here? More savar halacha zek Kiva mechavero velo merabo. We pass in the halacha zek Kiva against his friend, but not against his rabbi. So since Rabbi Tarfon was the rabbi of Rabbi Akiva, right? So therefore, we don't go against, right, his rabbi. More savar, but the Shakish held the halacha afinu merabo. The halacha zek Kiva even against, right, his own rabbi, right? And therefore, since it's even against his own rabbi, that's why you were saying that you have to actually come and you have to retract. The Yibait Ema, or if you want, you could answer. According to everybody, no, we pass Rabbi Kiva from his friend, but not against his rabbi. But what is the machlok between them? More savar Rabbi Tarfon Raboava, more savar Chaveroava. One of them held that Rabbi Tarfon was his rabbi, and one of them held that really be'emet he was his friend. So therefore, since he was his friend and not his rabbi, that's why obviously we could go like Rabbi Kiva, not like Rabbi Tarfon. Third answer, if you want, you can answer. According to everybody, who was his friend. Again, here what was the machlok between them? More savar halacha itmar, or more savar matin itmar. There's machlok whether it was halacha or matin. When you say the halacha means that that's halacha, and therefore that's it. There's nothing what to talk about. But that's halacha. When you say matin means that it's inclined, right? It's inclined towards him, which means that it's not 100% halacha, right? So that means if you went and you paskin the other way, let's say it's inclined towards Rabbi Akiva, but it's not that halacha like Rabbi Akiva. So if you incline the other way, you still leave it right in their hands. Nekuda. Okay. Next, Tived Rabbi Yochanan, the family members of Rabbi Yochanan, tafus para diatme. They grabbed the para of yitomim that they inherited, of orphans that they inherited from their father. But the family members of Rabbi Yochanan, they grabbed it as a debt, right? And where do they grab it? From a simta, just like Rabbi Tarfon. So Atul came to Rabbi Yochanan, they came in front of Rabbi Yochanan, Amalu, he told them, Shapir, so he said it's good. So Atul came to Rabbi Shakish, Amalu, Zilu Adur, said go give it back. Atul came to Rabbi Yochanan, they came in front of Rabbi Yochanan, Amalu, Ma'aseh. So they went and they said, so Rabbi Yochanan went and he said, what am I going to do? Shekinegdi chaluk alai. Right? Somebody which is equal to me, he's arguing on me. And therefore, I can't really go against him either. This is incredible, right? The Anava of Rabbi Yochanan, right? That he's coming and saying that a Shakish, right? He's equal to me. And therefore what? Right? What am I going to do? He's arguing on me and therefore I cannot go against his words either. Ha'u bakara diatme, right? It was a bakar, right? This is now the bakar is not the bakar in itself. It's bakara. So the bakara is the ro'e bakar. Okay, so the ro'e bakar, the tafsi Torah mineh, that he was a Balchov came and he grabbed, right, a shore. So Balchov Amar, so listen, he grabbed it during the lifetime of he heard that the guy was sick, or whatever it is, he runs, he jumped, he grabbed the shore, now it's mine. Right? Why? It was during lifetime. But the Rueh Bakar, when he said, no, he grabbed it after death. When they came from Nachman, he says, do you have witnesses, right, when you actually grabbed it? Amalei says, Lav, no. Amalei says, from the fact that you could have just said that you bought it from the father, you have amigo. You could have come and you could have said, I bought it from the father. And then you keep it. You didn't say that. So migu that you could have said a better tana, meaning that migu that you could have said a better thing, right? Remember the migu was mali shaker. Remember it was why am I going? You got a better tana. You could have come. You had a much better claim. So the fact that you could have said this, you're going to be believed. So ask the Gemara. Says the Gemara, what are you talking about? The Shakish comes and he says that animals, since animals go on their own, there's no chazakah. What does that mean? if somebody has it in their hands, there's no chazakah that it's his. Imagine right now you have somebody's dog. Yeah, that's not chazakah that you bought it. Why? Animals go on their own. And the fact that they go on their own, they wander on their own. So for the fact that you have it in your head now, it's not a proof, right? That what's it called? That you actually have it. So answers the Gemara, Shan and Torah, and I said, no. Here we're talking about a shor, the ox. And the ox is where? In the hands of the Roe Bakar. Right? So since he's got like the shepherd, whatever, that he's in charge of the Roe Bakar. So therefore, that's why, right, this is going to be a Tana. The Venesia was another story. This is going to be a fourth story to do with this. From the house of the Nasi. Tafus Amta Diatme. Yeah, he comes and he grabbed, right, the shivcha, right, they went and she grabbed, right, that's what they grabbed it from the shivcha. Okay. Nisimta from the Simta Yativ, Rabbi Avu, so Rabbi was just sitting there, and they came Amru Lehu. So the three Dainim, they went and they told the Bet Nasi, Shapit of Situa, right? It's good that you guys grabbed it, right? So basically, what did they do? They went and they grabbed the shivcha. He said, listen, at least we should take a maidservant. The maidservant will serve us, right, from the Yitomim. So Amar Lehu Rabbi Abba, says Rabbi Abba, Mishum de men Nisiya Ninu Machniftalu. So Rabbi Abba comes and he tells, right, the Dayanim, he says, what? Because these people, they belong to the Bet Nasi. So for you guys are flattering them? Like what? That's why, you guys have to, butter them up. Dun Daine, right? Rabbi Tafon. He says, what? They passed in like Rabbi Tafon. But the Shakish will do it. The Shakish, they retracted. So what are you talking about then? Okay? So again, this was another story of that. They actually did retract from it. Yema bar Chashu, Havamasa bezuta bel Gavra. Yema bar Chashu, he had money, right, by a certain person. Shachiv Shavika Arba. So he left over a boat. Yeah, left over a boat. Elmaleh Lishuchi told the Shaliach, Zil Tafsini Allah, go grab it, right, for me. Azal Taf say he grabbed it. Pagu Be, so the Papa Yeshua. So he saw them. Yeah. So what happened? Amrule, they went and they said, At Tofes le Balchov, a person that's grabbing a Balchov. Right, in a place where it's going to be chav achirim. Right? Why? When you're going to grab the sfina, the boat, right? So therefore, what's happening is you're not going to stop other people from grabbing things. Rabbi Yochanan says that you're going to grab for a balchov in a place where it's going to be chav achirim. Right? Peheh Amud Aleph 85a lo kana. You're not going to acquire it. Right? Why? Because there's still going to be zakayim still mitfos. So therefore, you are a shliach. You cannot be zocheh, right, in the Sfina for Yemar Bar Chashu, and then you're going to cause other people to lose out as well, right? Because basically he was also chayav to Rav Papa and Rahun Yeshua as well. So tafsinu inhu. So they went and they grabbed it for themselves. Okay, you understand? They grabbed it for themselves. Why? Because you cannot grab it for somebody else. And then obviously we're going to continue tomorrow explaining, right, the differences between all the different cases over here.